You're watching the free version of Mocha Essentials. Follow along with projects and footage with a premium download available at BorisFX.com.
Hi, I'm Mary Poplin with BorisFX, and this is the Remove module Part 1. And this is where we're going to talk about the basics of the Remove. It's a quick introduction to the Remove module, and it shows you how to set up a remove where an object is moving over a background that's planar, and you can see behind the object, so Mocha can remove the object automatically. And I will also show you how to do a remove using a clean plate. We'll talk about some of the main problems you encounter when creating a remove and how to solve them. So first things first, we're going to drag and drop Mocha right onto our clip, right on the timeline, and we're going to launch Mocha. When dealing with a remove module, you want to be in classic mode. And first, you have to create some tracks. Now, I want to remove this guy who's walking over this background. Now, this background doesn't have a lot of parallax, so we can kind of get away with tracking the entire area behind him. If this shot had a lot of parallax, it would actually not be a very good candidate for a remove because you'd have to track each of these columns individually, the front of this building, the side of this building over here, probably the car, the ground, everything together. So when you have a lot of parallax, you have to understand that if you're going to create a remove, you have to track every single plane behind the object. Since this background is moving in a planar way, we will get away with just one shape. First thing we do is we say, hey, I want to remove this guy. So I'm going to tell Mocha to just track him really quick. I'm going to use a round elliptical spline layer. I'm going to track translation only, and I'm going to hit track forward. Now Mocha's going to follow this guy until his head goes off screen. When it looks like his head's going to go off screen, I'm just going to move the track to his bag and track him off screen. Now, I do want to get rid of that animation. So I'm just going to blow away all my keyframes. And I'm going to make this shape bigger for my guy. All right, so now my shape is larger for my object I want to remove, which in this case is this guy. He's not an object, he's a person. We want to remove this person from this scene. I'm going to call him Remove Guy. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create a big shape behind him for the entire length that he's on screen. So I'm going to make a really big shape just like this. I'm going to call it BG. And I'm going to move it underneath Remove Guy. I'm going to track translation, scale, rotation, shear, and perspective. And I'm going to turn my mats on so you can see what's happening here. Because Remove Guy is above and the BG is below, we're going to track all of this background without tracking any of the pixels of the guy which we're trying to remove. So we're going to hit track forwards, and we're going to track every single jittery bit of that background because this is a little bit handheld with the Steadicam, and we're going to get all of that subtle motion. All right, now I'm going to click on my Remove Guy and turn my mats off. I'm going to turn my overlays off as well so that I can see what I'm doing when I start my remove. And now I'm going to jump over to my Remove tab. Let's turn our Transform tool off as well. In my Remove tab, I'm going to tell Mocha to look 138 frames before and 138 frames after, starting at frame 0, and the last frame is 37. All right, the reason I'm telling it to look at all of these frames before and after is because I want it to pull all of the pixels where this guy isn't to replace him as he passes by. I'm going to use auto step because Mocha will then skip between frames in a way that it thinks is best to save me time for this remove. I could just look every single frame. Step of 1 means I will look at every single frame, but auto step means I look at a predetermined, calculated number of frames to cut down on my render times. Even though the remove module is GPU accelerated, it's really helpful to cut down on whatever processing time you can. We're not going to use illumination modeling right now, but we'll talk about illumination modeling on another shot. And if we need to blend, we will blend. I'll show you what that looks like when we hit render. 3D compensation and flood fill you'll almost never use. 3D compensation is for when there's like a treetop canopy that you're removing a plane that's flying over. Just a little bit of wobble in the plane itself. That's when you use 3D compensation. Instead of using the pixels from the original plate or black pixels, you can actually do a flood fill and it'll try to pick a color that's close to the pixels around it. Again, I wouldn't recommend doing that unless you're doing like stereo conversion and you're not really going to see it. It's really going to depend on what your needs are. So we're going to make sure that we're selected on our remove guy and we're going to hit render forwards. And it really is just that easy. And again, you can follow along. Just go get the footage from our website. So now that we have our render, let's check it. All right, I think this needs some troubleshooting, and we're going to show you how to do that in the next video.
You've been watching the free version of Mocha Essentials. To download all videos, projects and footage, purchase the premium version available at BorisFX.com.